Um, so we'll just go ahead and get started here. We're going to be talking about the billing cycle and just the basic process of billing. So a little bit about myself. My name is Chris. I've been with customer support with Harris for just over 2 years. That's a little picture of me there. We have a lot to cover. I enjoy a challenge, and I like puzzles, and this software has got a lot of challenging pieces to it. So once I figure things out, I like to put them down in a presentation and share my thoughts on them. So we're going to go ahead with the billing cycle. First, though, with some limits and assumptions here. So every company is going to be a little bit different on the way that they do billing. And if what we're going to cover is going to be a basic generic billing process, and usually it's where we start when we're bringing a company on board, and then we kind of tailor the billing process to that company. So if you have specific questions about your process, we can put in a support ticket later about that, and we would be happy to help you with those. All right. So what is billing? All right, from a water company's perspective, you know, this is what it's all about. This is how you get paid. This is how you get your customers to pay for the water and services that they use. So billing is just this large group of things that we do in ICIS. From a programmer's perspective, and this is a little bit of a jab at the programmers here, there is no menu item or function labeled billing in our software. Be more specific. So we get that a lot. We have to be very specific with our development department when we're bringing them issues. From a customer support perspective, we kind of get it from all sides here. So we have to be very, very specific with what we're looking at when we're talking about billing. Billing is a set of specific and separate steps that include exporting readings, gathering readings, importing readings, closing the reading books, applying charges, charging non-metered accounts, reapplying charges, generating bills, printing bills, making corrections, generating second notices, printing second notices, applying penalties, generating disconnect notices, and printing disconnect notices. Try to say that 3 times fast. All right, so we're actually going to skip over the terminology here because I'm going to explain all of this as we go through each step. And then I'm going to leave it in the presentation because at the end, at some point, I'm going to turn this into a PDF and we'll be able to pass this around. And anybody who wants to go through this again will have access to it. We'll also have, I believe, a recording of it so you can hear the whole presentation again. All right. So you all have probably seen this before. This is just the basic billing cycle. Export readings, import readings, verify, apply, make corrections, close reading books, apply, check for unread meters, charge non-metered accounts, print bills and first notices, verify, reapply if needed, reapply and apply penalties. We have a little handout that has this in black and white, but I just threw it up on here so that you can see it. This is just kind of a billing cycle. Whatever length of time your billing period is, this just is continuous. It keeps going. But I think I prefer the term billing period because it's more linear. All right, so the first step in the billing cycle or billing period is exporting to handhelds. This is what I consider the first step because so many things are linked to it. And in order to get your readings to come back in, you have to export your readings from ICIS first to your handhelds or however you're going to gather readings. To get there, you will have to navigate to utility billing, readings, export to handheld. And that's all in ICIS. The screen will look like this. You can export by reading group, and I'll explain the reading groups a little bit later. Or you can export by book, by a single book or by a range of books. Once you've selected your criteria here, you can hit the export button here, and it will generate a fixed width flat file. This is the wizard that actually generates that file. So set up in the general import export wizard, the Genie, any of your export types. We actually have a wizard that will show us each field in the file, and I'll show you that here in a little bit. But you have to choose with this drop down which export type that you're wanting to do. This one here is set to FlexNet. Some of these things are out of order. This here is the Windows Open and Save dialog here. So when you're exporting from ICIS or an Impressa, you're generating a file that you're going to save somewhere on your computer. It's really helpful if you're a little bit familiar with Windows and the file structures in Windows and how to save things. This just brings up a generic save dialog box. The date format is important. On the export, all of this really is going to be defaulted, and it should be set up already in the system for you. If it's not, get with us and we can figure out how to set these to default to the date formats that you need. This is really important, and it's going to be set according to whatever your export third-party company is. That's going to help you get your readings. This is what the file is going to look like, or this is an example of a file. It's just a flat file. It opens up in Notepad. The length of each line and all of the positions on this file are very important. And this is the General Import Export Maintenance Wizard. We shorten that to the Genie in the system. And this is really, all of this should be set up beforehand. This really isn't basic, but it's good to see it and understand how this file works. So if you look at the meter or register number here, the begin position is 49. This is our meter number here. This is the column that we're referring to when we say begin position. So begin position 49, column 49 down here. This is the beginning of our meter number, and it's going to have a length of 10. It's kind of helpful to know that and see that, and it's really important for us in troubleshooting and support if you're able to save those files and pull them up when we need them, as far as if there's a problem with importing meters or anything like that. All right, and so after you export to handhelds, your company is going to go out and gather readings however you do that. You may go out and walk around your neighborhoods and get the readings. You may drive around. You might have tower reads. Get online and get on the computer and get your readings somehow. You might ride a bike, maybe a carrier pigeon, rocket, or magically just get your readings somehow. But that's all third party. So we really don't have much to do with that as far as gathering your readings. But when we have to export first, and then the next thing we're going to do is import the readings. All right. So the next step in the billing cycle is importing. Like exporting to handhelds, importing from handhelds is found in utility billing, readings, import from handhelds. And those are the menu items there. You just navigate to that. The screen will look like this. It's pretty similar to the other one. Reading description, this is going to show up in reading maintenance. The date, I've changed this date and I can't figure out where it goes, or it always defaults to today's date, but I'm not quite sure what it's used for. So I normally just leave that alone. And then the reader, you can leave this blank, or whoever actually gathered the readings can go there, and that will be listed in reading maintenance as well. Once you have selected your criteria here, click import, and it'll bring up another wizard, a little dialog box here. Again, choose the import type, FlexNet or anything like that. Select the date format, and then find the file to be imported. And once you've done all of that, import, it will, now this here, once your third-party software has created a export file from their software, that export file becomes our import file. And that's where you need to find it through this, this dialog here. And once you're ready, import it. For the import file, The only thing that ICIS needs is the meter number, the new reading, and the reading date. Everything else in reading maintenance sparks off of this right here, the meter number. So when you get the readings back in, the new reading, the reading date is needed. The meter number pulls in the account number, the service location, all of that, all the extra additional information that we need. The Genie is used in the same way it was used for the export file. We import in a fixed width flat file format. And of course, saving a copy of the file separately is really helpful for troubleshooting. Some people import several different files in a billing period, and they just overwrite the previous file, which means that is lost. So this is Jeannie, but she's really not. I just decided to create that. When we say the Genie, we're talking about the General Import-Export Wizard. All right. And then in reading maintenance, it can be found in utility billing, readings, and reading maintenance. This is where the reading file gets imported to. And here's reading maintenance here. It's kind of a clipping of it. You have different tabs here, the view reading files. This is actually where you're going to see the list of different reading files that you've imported. Edit readings here. This will show you the details inside of each of these files. So this is one record here, and then inside of it, you're going to have all the meters listed that you've imported into that file. All right, and then of course each of those is a separate file. And then each of these columns here, you're going to have the count, and this is the number of meters that are inside this one file. This wasn't really a great example because this is from a database I use for testing, and each one of these only has 1 meter in each file. This one will have 13 different meters in the file. Then you're going to have your start book and end book. Every one of these, this is book 14, so there's only one book in here, and that makes sense because there's only 1 meter. This one here on 13, we have start book 91 and end book 99. So it could be just book 91 and book 99, or it could be a range of books in between. So 93, 94, and 96 could be in there also. And then there's a description from the import. So here, these were all manually entered. Now, this is the last action that was performed on these files. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's the last thing that actually happened. So, for example, here, this file on 3/21/2018, the last action was applied. However, if my books were not closed, then nothing actually got applied to that account because it can't be applied unless your books are closed. So this just tells you that the last thing I did was hit the apply button, and it doesn't necessarily mean that something was applied. And the same thing for the last date, so that's just the last time anything was done on this reading file. All right. So here, this is going to be within the reading file. This is the view edit reading files, and we clicked over to the other tab, edit reading files. You can search for a meter and account number in this field, and that's going to pull up any meter or account number that you have in this file here. Of course, you're going to have your account number field, your meter number field. This is one of them this is from the import file that we had, the flat file. All right, the previous reading, this is being pulled from the top of the list of the meters edit reading tab, which is on the meter screen here. So if you go to your meter screen, pull up a meter, and look down here, you have edit readings. At the very top of that list is your last reading that was applied on 2/13/18. So this reading is what's showing up here in the previous reading field. All right, and then we have the new reading field here, and the usage here is being calculated from the previous reading to the new reading. So it's just the difference between the two, and that's your usage. Now, when I look at this here and I see that we have usage and there's not a 0 in this field, that's letting me know that this has not been applied yet. What I would expect to see if this were applied is zeros all the way down, and I would expect to see that my new reading and my previous reading are the same. All right. The reading date is the last field that is taken from the import reading file. And that's important too as far as rate codes go. I just actually finished up a call the other day where the reading date here was set to 2020, and we had to set it back 2 years to make it 2018. You cannot apply if this reading date is before the reading date of your previous reading. It's going to give you an error. So your reading date is very important. It has to be after the reading date of your previous reading. And then this field here is going to show you your book and your sequence. That's per meter, and each one of these lines here is a representative of a meter. You're going to have the book number here, and then the sequence is on the other side of the decimal point. And that's going to be seen here. If you want to look at the meters, book and sequence here, go to the service location screen and click on the connections tab. And there's your book and sequence there. Of course, that's your meter number down there. All right, so now to applying the charges. So the order that we would go in and what we suggest is verify, apply, close reading books, and then apply. This is the suggested order of events here. Verify, apply. This can be done as many times as you need. It doesn't make any changes to your data. So, and really it's just for verifying what's going to happen when you actually do the apply process. So it's going to show you in all the reports what should happen in the apply process. And there are a few exceptions to that rule, but we're not going to cover those here. So the next thing you would do after you verify, apply, and then you get your reports, you're going to make corrections. Verify again if needed, and this is where you would add any missing meters into the file so that you can get readings on those. You can correct the readings in the reading file. You can do that by actually just changing the readings in the file, or you can do a reapply, but I've cautioned you on the reapply, and you'll see that several times throughout here because reapply is a tricky subject, and if you do it at the wrong time, it is non-recoverable. All right, so closing the reading books is next. So once you know everything looks good as far as your data and you're ready to apply, you don't need to make any more corrections to your readings or your meter readings, then you're ready to close the reading books. All right. Closes the books for the previous billing period, opens the books for the new billing period, and it should be done right before an apply with no operation in between. And that's our suggestion. We have some companies that do it in a different order, and that's completely fine. I am all for not fixing something that is not broken. So after you close your reading books, then you want to immediately apply, writes readings to the meter, generates charges based on usage calculated through the group income center and rate codes, and that's all found on the connections tab of the service location, writes them to the service location and shows on the customer's ledger. All right, and again, the reapply, should not use it. I would caution against using it at all. If you have any questions about a reapply, if you need to do one of those, please do not hesitate to call in first, because the only way to recover from that is to restore from the previous evening's backup, and then you have to re-enter all the information and all the transactions you did that day. So unless you really know what's going on with the reapply, you should never use it. All right, and then the process of applying the charges is done from reading maintenance screen. So up here on the process bubble here of the banner at the top, you have your verify, apply, verify, reapply, and reapply. And then you have some other options here, add, estimate, and use last. Add will let you add a whole group of books. So if you wanted to add book 1, it would add that in with a start book of 1, end book of 1, and then on the reading side, you would have all of your previous readings, but then you wouldn't have anything in your new readings. So you'd have to manually put those in. All right. So go ahead and select the record that you want to verify, then click Verify Apply. Once you do that, it gives you the wizard. Now, once you hit that, it's actually doing the verify, and it's already done all the processing operations that it's going to do. A few things that I look for on this screen is if I look here, I'm going to see the meters. This is the number of meters in the file, and then this is the number of warnings that we're going to get in the file. On a verify apply, I want to see that the number of warnings is equal to or greater than the number of meters I have. And the reason for that is because on a verify apply, we haven't closed the reading books yet. So it's going to give us a warning each time for each meter that hasn't been closed out. The next thing I want to look for is my errors here. And of course, this one has 173 errors. If you have any errors on verify apply, you want to make sure you take care of these errors. Now, the warnings are not as dire as the errors are. You definitely want to take care of your errors first before you go ahead with the apply. But the warnings, you may have high-low readings and stuff like that, and some of those are within acceptable ranges, so they're not as important to take care of as the errors are. All right. And then this is the, you want to have this selected, especially on a verify apply meter calculation error warning report. And this will let you see what those errors and warnings are. And also the other thing that I suggest would be the missing meter report. And we can go into more detail about that probably another time here. All right, and once you have all your criteria here selected, click Next or OK. And this is what a report looks like here. You're going to have your error type over here, and then this is what we're looking at when I was looking at the number of meters and the number of error warnings that we had. Meter has already been verified or already been read, and then it wants you to verify that. So we're on a verify apply. If the meter's already been read, then that means we can't apply to it because the books are not closed. So I expect to see that on the verify because we haven't closed our books yet. All right. And of course, we have other information here: meter number, account number, the name of the person there, and service location. We also have our previous read and current reading. All right, so the next step is to make corrections. So we just verified applied. Now we want to correct anything we have wrong. If you do see a warning about a high-low reading or something like that, and you notice that it's way too high, or if you notice anything strange, go ahead and take care of those. Definitely take care of all your errors. Verify apply as many times as you need. Again, it doesn't make any changes. And again, another caution about reapplying, so be very careful with the reapply. All right, so now we're ready to close the reading books. So if you will navigate to utility billing, readings, close the reading books. This is the screen here. You can close by reading group, and there's the drop down to select your reading groups. That can be set up on this screen here. It's in system code maintenance and reading group. You'll see the reading group here and the books to be included. So we're still closing by book. It's just allowing us to organize those books differently. So we have book 1, 2, 10, 16, and 32. It's going to close the books, the reading books for those meters when you select that option. The other way, of course, is by book. You can do a single book or a range of books, and you're closing the reading books for those books. All right, and that's where that's found again. You have your book in your sequence here. So this is the book that we're referring to. This is the meter. The meter is connected to the service location through the group and income center and rate code. And the book number here is related to the meter. Once you've selected the books that you want to close, go ahead and hit Save Changes. Then you should see this screen here. And this is what you want to see. Process is complete. That means that your books have been closed. All right. This is what you don't want to see. If you look at this, you're going to have a list of meters and service locations in here that did not get the books closed. So once you get this, you just want to stop. We have a lot of customers that want to go ahead and apply readings at this point. You're going to have a problem because you're only going to apply to the meters that are in this list. You're not going to apply to all the meters in that book. So, and it's not going to do anything. It's not going to actually apply any readings to the other meters because they're not closed yet. So, and also here, for some reason, we have a lot of people that want to do a reapply. So don't do a reapply and don't do apply. At this point, you want to close your books. You want to make sure you understand what's going on with the screen and what's happening with these meters. All right. So just looking at the warnings that come up, the following unread meters have caused the closeout of the meter book to be unsuccessful. So these are all unread, and that being unread means for this billing period, not the previous one. So once you close your books, you're in a new billing period and those meters are unread. So that means that all of these meters here have already had their books closed. And again, that message just repeats here. This is a pop-up that comes up in the middle of the screen. All right, if you attempt to apply, nothing will happen because the system sees the meters as already being read and the books are not closed for any meter at this point. You may be tempted to do a reapply. Don't. Again, some more warnings there. I'm hoping that y'all are sensing a theme here about the reapply. Only use it if you really know what you're doing. If there are a few meters in that list, then we're going to want to move those out and close the books for the rest of them. If the list is full, then you may have already closed the books for all of the meters in that reading in that book. All right. So this is a customer service location tab here, and this is how we can tell if the books are opened or closed for this period. This is the meter read flag. You're going to be on the service location or the customer screen, and then the service location tab. And on here, you're going to see your service location group and information here, and the meters. Actually, if you expand that out, you would see the meter in there. You have the meter read flag here. If it's unchecked, that means that the books have been closed at some point, and that you're ready to apply readings to that book because the books have been closed and they're unread at the moment. So if they are checked, then the books have not been closed since your last apply, and the books will have to be closed before you can apply. So I always, this is not telling you whether books are open or closed. It's telling you whether the meters have been read or not. To know if they're open or closed for this billing period, you have to look at the customer balance screen. All right, and so this is just the service location tab here showing the read flag is being checked. Here's the ledger. This is a customer balance screen with the ledger. The last time that these books had been closed is here with this charge on 2/22/18. All right. And the reason I know that is because the only thing that will put the check in this box is when you apply charges, and the only thing that takes the check out of this box is when you close the reading books. So at some point the reading books were closed because there was no check in this box, and then on 2/22 there was an apply done that put the check back in this box. And that's how you know the last time it was done. All right. So back here to our reading maintenance. On this one here, our closed reading books, we only have a small number of books here. These meters books are already closed. So in order to close the rest of them for book one, we're going to have to remove them from this reading book. And I know we're going a little bit over here, but we're almost finished. All right, and to remove them, of course, you have to go to each individual service location and change the book for the meter. Change it to something that you don't use, then close the books again, and then change them all back immediately, and you should be good. And that doesn't affect the reading file. All it's doing is moving the meter out of the books. All those meters are still in that reading file. All right, and then once you close the books again, you should get the process is complete, and everything should be good on that. As soon as you close the reading books, you are ready to apply readings. And I will rush through this part here. So this is to apply the selected reading file. A lot of this is exactly the same as the verify apply, except for you're just going to use the other option. So here you are with the reading file. You select the one that you want to apply. You click the apply at this point. So this is a point of no return here. Once you click the button, it's actually applied the readings and the charges to the account. All right, and that's even before the reports wizard comes up here. All right. So then you would just print your reports the same way. You should have already corrected all the errors here, and everything should come out good. It's good to save these reports. Once you apply the reading usage and the usage applied to the meter and the charges applied to the service location. You may be asking yourself, if charges are applied to the service location, how do they get to the customer's account? Really quickly here, the customer is connected to the service location. The service location is connected to the meter. Readings are applied to the meter, and readings are used to calculate usage. All right, when the usage is calculated, it is pushed through the group, income center, and rate code. And the rate codes that are connected to the income center actually generate the charges, and those charges are stored on the service location. Now, the reason why they're stored there is because the meter's connected there. But that also, because the service location is attached to the customer screen, or to the customer, those charges show up on the customer's ledger. Now, if you don't have a customer account attached to a service location, no charges will be generated, but if you have a meter connected there, but it still needs to calculate everything and attach it somewhere. So it's going to attach it to the service location itself. All right, and I know that I rushed through a lot of that, and you may have a lot of questions, and I apologize for going so quickly here. But we are going to go ahead and save the actual printing of the bills for the next time.